Hello, and welcome to this demo where we'll learn to use dictionaries in our automation processes. In this video, we'll learn how to create a dictionary with usernames as keys and their birth dates as values. We'll use both of them with string as the type. Next, we'll convert the birthdays to the date-time type. We'll then be able to perform date-time operations on them and determine which weekday their birthday falls on in the current year and whether their birthday has already passed. All set? Great! Let's create a new process in Studio and get started. Our first step is to create a dictionary type variable to store the names and birth dates. We'll call it birth dates. Now, for the variable type, we must click Browse for Types to find it, and search for the dictionary keyword. Let's select system.collections.generic.dictionary. Next, we need to select the data types for the keys and values. The first dropdown represents the keys, and the second represents the values. In our case, we'll select string for both the key and value and click OK. Next, let's assign values to our new dictionary variable. We'll use our first assign activity to assign the birthday for Jamie Hanks. Let's add inside the to field the name of our variable, followed by the key, which we must place between brackets. In this case, the key is the person's name. Inside the value field, we'll add our value, which in our case is the birth date, as a string. Please note that we're using an American date format where the month is before the day. As best practice, let's also rename the assign activity. Perfect! Now we'll add another assign activity. We'll use it to assign Willie Garner's birthday and perform the same steps as with the previous key and value pair. We update the key by inserting the name and add the birthday as the value, and rename our activity. Let's add the third and last key value pair. We'll use one more assign activity and update it with a new key and value. Let's not forget to rename the activity. There's one very important thing we must do before moving forward. Namely, to initialize the dictionary by typing the new keyword in a similar way as we've done when working with lists. To do this, we need to specify the data type for both the key and value of the dictionary. In this case, since we're using string for both, we'll enter new dictionary of string in the default value field. Perfect! We now have 3 names and 3 birth dates, and we're done with populating our dictionary variable. Next, we'll process the values so that we can extract and print the required information to the output panel. Since all of the items stored in our variable require the same type of processing, we can use a for each activity. Now we must loop through our dictionary. We can access and retrieve each value in our collection by using the keys of the dictionary. Therefore, the item collection needed here is birthdates.keys, which will allow us to access the keys of the dictionary as a standalone collection. The values paired with the keys are of type string. To accomplish our goal, we need to convert them to a more suitable type, namely date-time. To do this, we'll create a new variable for the birth date called dateCurrentPerson. Let's browse for types and search for date-time. As a quick note, the date and time variable is a type of variable that enables us to store information about any date and time. Additionally, we can perform different operations with it, as we'll observe later. We'll select the date-time option found under the System category. Moving on to the body of the for each activity, we'll add an assign activity to parse the dates. Let's use the variable we have just created in the to field. Next, we'll use the datetime.parse method to perform the conversion. This method helps us change the time format to the one we need. To access the value that corresponds to the key, we'll type in birth dates of key. Remember that inside our for each activity, the key is referenced as current item. For example, for the first iteration, current item will return Jamie Hanks. Note that the expression birth dates of key returns the value for that key. Perfect! Let's rename the activity. Next, we must determine the anniversary day of the week for the current year. Let's add another assign activity to the body sequence and create a new variable called current year anniversary. We must now select the system.datetime variable type. Next, we'll add the current year anniversary variable inside the to field. In the expression editor for the value field, we'll create a new datetime object whose value consists of the current year, the person's birth month, and birthday. And rename the activity. Next, let's add a final assign activity. For this activity, we must create a new variable to store the birthdays for the current day of the week. We can name it weekday anniversary and leave it as a string type. We may now use the newly created variable inside the to field of the assign activity. Let's open the expression editor for the value field and type the following expression: current year anniversary dot day of the week dot to string. This expression retrieves the day of the week. Lastly, let's rename the activity. Everything looks good. In addition to assigning birthdays to the usernames, we also add a for each activity that contained a series of other assign activities used to manipulate data. The final piece of information we want to include in the output panel text is whether the birthday of each person has passed or not. An if activity is exactly what we need to verify this. Let's open the expression editor for the condition field. Here, we'll check if the value of the current year anniversary variable for each person is less than datetime.today. Next, we'll use two log message activities. One inside the then block, which we can name results before today. Let's open the expression editor for the message field. As the message we want to print is complex, let's use the string.format method and type the following expression. The anniversary of open brackets, type in 0, close brackets, has already passed. It was on an open brackets, 1, close brackets. The argument at index 0 is current item, the dictionary key of the string type containing the person's name. The argument at index 1 is the day of the week for the current year anniversary. Inside the else block, we'll also add a log message and rename it to results after today. We can use the same expression as for the previous log message and adapt it as needed. The resulting message is the anniversary of open brackets, index 0, close brackets is in the future. It will be on a open brackets, index 1, close brackets, followed by our two arguments. And that's it! Perfect! Let's now run our workflow. If we open the output panel, we can see the three names and their corresponding messages. Great! This concludes our demo on working with dictionaries in UiPath Studio. As a quick recap, to declare a dictionary, we need to create a variable with system.collections.generic.dictionary as type. Then we select its key and value data types. Dictionaries, like lists, must be initialized after being declared. To assign keys and values to the dictionary variable, we can use the assign activity. We can process items in our dictionary variable by using the for each activity. To retrieve a value from the dictionary variable, we can use the expression dictionary variable name, open brackets, key name, close brackets. After learning how to create and initialize dictionaries in UiPath Studio, consider using them to store and retrieve key value pairs in your automation projects. What scenarios come to mind when you think about your day-to-day activities? Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy automation!